Hey, everybody. How is it going? The midterm should be wrapping about up. If you noticed, I do have it open this week, and that is because I am human and I do too make mistakes. If you can see right there, I have it as midterm that is going on as I record this. But if you noticed, the CNCC midterms are supposed to be this coming week, March 4th through March 10th. When I made the syllabus, I forgot to add a week. I just deleted a week completely, not content wise, but just time wise. And that's what put our midterms during the week that it did. I just kind of had that little switcheroo. And so I kind of decided to update the syllabus. You can see right there, it's this last week, the time of this recording. That's why I say today is the end of the midterm, even though it's still open. And then we have March 4th through the March 10th is classical art. And then we have spring break. And then when we get back, March 18th to March 24th, late classical era, or the less fancy word, ancient Rome. So here's what we're gonna do. Because some of you have spring break at a different time than CNCC if you are in high school, and some of us just want to get ahead, I'm gonna make a pretty long video talking about classical art and the late classical time period, aka Rome. I know there's probably a million different ways to label Rome, but calling it the Roman time period is just going to be the easiest way. I'll have the 2 weeks posted and live come Monday, and it's just going to be a smooth kind of like you've got this week or this coming week, spring break week, the week after, all live, ready to go. So let's start with classical art. It was all about the human form, and it was about humans being gods. Humans being as perfect as God, well proportioned, human like features, but it was perfect. That's the one thing I see time and time with Greek art. It is what they saw as what humans should be. It was a lot about honoring the gods. This art was all about dedications to the many, many different things. And it was usually like nude statues. There was usually lack of clothing because the Greek culture, the Greek idea of just kind of the body and who people were and all of that stuff. Parts of the work of arts were their columns. This is stuff we still see today because Greece was so big into presenting democracy. A lot of symbolism's been out there saying Greek democracy equals columns. So huge buildings that promote democracy here in the United States have columns with this. The Ionic, the Doric, the Corinthian columns, so very, very fancy and very marble. I call the Greek time period the age of marble. And today we just see the marble stones, but back then they were very, very beautifully painted and very elegantly with bright colors. The Parthenon. Oh, that was a beautiful building that they dedicated to the gods. Many things carved into those. But it wasn't just the marble. They had writings as well, the Iliad and the Odyssey, two famous works of art that still present the like lifestyle of Greece slash are in pop culture today. Many, many references to those two places or two works of art by Homer time and time again. They had vases where they're paintings. There wasn't so much of a canvas painting, and if there are, we probably lost it by now. But it was more of the vases and jars and the plates and all the ceramics that they made that they would paint and just show off their skills. But once again, what was the key to the arts? For the gods? It was to dedicate to the gods, to show off to the gods, to make sure that the gods were doing well and that the dedications and the honoring of the gods were well received. And who did the Greeks influence more than anyone? That is the Romans. And when we look at the Romans, that time period lasted over 1,000 years. For the first 200 years, they had kings and queens, and it was very regal. But as the kings started to get corrupt, the people are like, wait a second here, we don't like this. And in 509 BCE, they formed a republic. Now remember, Greece formed a democracy in 508. So the two civilizations were very closely matched with this idea of people control, people in charge. The citizens have that right. Senators were being made into the laws. Senators were the ones who were kind of leading that charge. Now, one thing when we look at the senators, were they all like, let's go, people? Probably not. Not really, no. They were, what can I do for me? What can I do for the rich people? What can I do for the Romans? Julius Caesar rose up through the Roman Republic ranks. He was, while he's a lot like his Caesar is kind of like emperor changing, he was never a part of the empire. Though his death was what brought forth that empire. His his rise and his power hungry was like, bow down to me, look at me, let's go. And Rome becomes that empire, and it ends in 476. And then the Eastern Roman Empire like ends much later, but that kind of turns into the Ottoman Empire, that turns into something very different than what we know as Rome. Like I said, Rome lasted over 1,000 years. They expanded to be the largest civilization to that point. Later on, others grew bigger, but it took over all the other big civilizations, so it left its mark. As it expanded, Rome had that beautiful culture of listening to others. They were like, you people, whoever they were talking about, everyone out there had the ability, had the opportunity to teach the Romans. But the Romans had a huge ego saying, we're right, you're wrong, we're best, bow down to us. And that led them to going, I like your idea, but we're gonna make it Roman and we're gonna make it better. And a lot of the times it did turn out pretty well for them. Architecture was amazing. They were the land of the concrete. They made big things to last, and they were constantly winning that let's go. The aqueducts, the roads, the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and many more. It's like beyond numbers of what I can like discuss right here. And Rome, I kind of alluded to it earlier, Rome wasn't fair. Rome didn't really care about non-Romans. They were more concerned about what can we do for Rome? How can we make it the best? And so that meant in Rome life, if you were Roman and you were rich, your life was good. But if you were an outsider or you were poor, life was kind of a struggle. So you've got your 2 weeks, classical art and the Roman time period. Talk about the culture there. I'll have both weeks' content up, ready to go. There is spring break for CNCC in between, so I'll have the due dates up there. Make sure you clearly see when they're all due. With that, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have fun and good luck.